Okay, so last week I started by showing us briefly what Office 365 looks like, right? And how things are being done. Okay, all right. So last week we started a very brief introduction, and we've been able to go through a few things. So I'm going to share my screen right away and start. So last week I started showing us some part of Office 365. So what I'm going to do right now, I would actually need to change a bit. Last week I'm trying to show us everything, but I think it will be fine if we all can also have an environment where we can actually play with things. That would really help us to learn very fast. Okay, so what I'm going to do today, I'm going to show us how we can create our own test environment, right? And after we create the test environment, I will explain a few things. So maybe it might not really be advisable that you follow me right away, since we have the video, so you can watch later and follow the same step to create your own environment. But if you want to follow me, fine and good. So I'm going to start and share my screen immediately. Okay, just give me a few seconds. Let me get rid of stuff like. Okay, so I'm going to use an incognito window. So I'm going to have a conscious of my time right now. Okay, so I'm sharing my screen. So can we all see my screen?
Yes, we can.
All right. So what I'm going to do is this. So I'm going to quickly create a test environment. So how can we create this test environment? We are going to make use of what we call Microsoft Developer, right? So the Microsoft Developer tenant will enable us to be able to use Office Series 5 subscription, and also we'll be able to test everything that is going on there. Okay, so if you have not watched the last week video, please watch it, because some of the things I'll be saying we don't want to repeat myself. So when I say tenant, so tenant just means a space that you are occupying as let's say a user of Office 365. So that is what we mean by the tenant. So we're going to create a tenant. So from the address bar, you can just say Office 365 developer. Once the first link that will come up, right? So you can just click on it. So now, why are we using Office 365 developer, right? Someone would ask me. Now, when you want to set up your profile, when you want to create a tenant in Office 365, right? Usually you need to buy the subscription, right? So, but this Office 365 developer will give us opportunity to be able to use Office 365 subscription for at least maybe 6 months or 1 year, right? So which is actually will give us enough opportunity to be able to try and test things. Okay, so there are different type of licensing in Office 365. So I think when I get to licensing, I will explain a little bit further, right? So, but in Office 365 developer, it's giving us Microsoft 365 E5, right? So you can just take note of this E5. It's very important, right? So E5 is like the highest subscription that you can see in Office 365. So when we get to licensing, I will explain a little bit further on this. So this is just normal way of like creating an account. So you can just say join. So you can look for maybe your Gmail or your any account to create it. So let me go to incognito window so that I can do some things. So are you seeing my screen now?
Yeah, now we can able to see.
Yes, I can see it now.
Okay. Sorry for that. Please, anytime you're not seeing the screen, just let me know, because there's no way I can know if you are seeing it or not. So what I've done so far, right, is I try to I don't know if I have to go back again, but so there is no way I will go back again because I've already created this. So what I did in the real sense is, so let me create another browser so that you can see how I got here, right? Can you see a blank incognito window now?
Yes.
All right. So from
Yes,
this incognito, exactly. So now from what I try to do here in this is here. So I want to set up a Microsoft tenant, right? So by normal way of setting up Microsoft tenant, if you want to set up a new tenant, just go to office.com, right? Just go to office.com. So when you get to office.com here, so you can now say get office, right? So this is the normal way of setting up an Office 365 tenant. Okay, so you can now select business. So you now choose the office that you want. So you now choose the office that you want. So these are different type of subscriptions, but we'll come to licensing later. So I don't want to talk about licensing now. So that is just the normal way of setting up Office 365 tenant. But I don't want us to go that route, because if we go that route, if we pick any of these tenants, we can only use we can do a trial license. So we can only use it for 1 month. So it might not be enough for us to try everything we want to do. So that is why I recommended we use Microsoft Developer Tenant. So the Microsoft Developer Tenant will give you about 6 months to 1 year of subscription. So basically it's for developers. So those that are trying something on Office 365. So that's how it works. So what I did is I just go to just type from the browser, just type Office 365 developer. You get. So once you type the Office by developer, so the first URL you will see is usually join Microsoft developer, right? So once you click on that, if you open a page wherever, so just follow this page. Then if you try to create a page, so just say join. So you can use any of your email address, you can use Gmail, you can use whatever. So just put it here and say next. So once you put it, you put your email address, you give you where you can enter your password. That's all. So once you do that, it will now take you to that second screen I have. So that is where I started, right? So once you put in your name, your email address and your password, it will now load you and take you to this second screen that I am here. Follow that step. So it will now take you to this window that I have here. So I believe we are seeing welcome extra and key, right?
Yeah.
Okay, fine. So once you do that, it will now take you to this window. So that is how I got here, right? So in summary, what I've said so far is this: we are trying to set up an Office 365 tenant, but I don't want us to go the normal route. So I want us to use the developer account, because it will give us opportunity to be able to try out things very well. So all you need to do, type in the browser Office 365 developer account. So once you click on that, you put in your email address and you get in here. So once you get in here, you say get this. So I also mentioned something that most times you can choose US as your country, because most of the features might not be available maybe in Nigeria. In India they have most of the features, but I don't know. So just choose your country as it were, but it has a disadvantage. So let me tell you now. So if you choose a country, for example, I'm in Nigeria, yes, and I'm in Nigeria, and I'll choose US. So when it gets to the time that I have to pay, right, I need to find a credit card that is registered in US. If not, I will not be able to pay for my subscription. So you need to be very careful if you are choosing another country. So if you are choosing another country, it means you need to provide the means of payment or a credit card of that country. So that's why it's good you choose your own country, right? So but if you know that you have a means of payment of another country, maybe US, like maybe in Nigeria now, I know that if I want to pay something in US, I can use a virtual card or whatever. So you can, but that is just a sidetrack. So you can come here and give a name. So let me call it extra NKE. So please, you can mute your mic as well, please, if you're not doing anything. So extra NKE is the name. So the domain also. So the domain can be, let me just call it e extra nkre2, right? So you can see what is showing here on the ground here. So once I put it, it's trying to check if the name is available. So now it's available. Now let me quickly say something here that is very important. You will see that it's showing me, let me change my name into admin, right? So you will see that it's showing me, okay, okay, so this is taken. So okay, admin is taken. Okay, no problem. Let me do this way. Let me do admin here, right? So now I think this is what I want to achieve, right? So you can see from here it's showing us that admin at extrankey.onmicrosoft.com. So you need to be very aware of this. So let me quickly say something about it. So anytime you are creating a domain in Office, creating a tenant in Office 365, the first domain that will be created on that tenant is the .onmicrosoft domain. So now, what is the .onmicrosoft domain? So most people refer to it as maybe MODRD. To be honest, I don't know what that thing means. So they call it MODRD. You get? Or sometimes they call it vanity domain. You understand? Vanity domain. So vanity as in VANIT. So vanity domain or MODRD. So that is what they call it. Most people. So what does it mean in the real sense? It does mean that everything you create on Office 365 tenants, we have this .onmicrosoft domain. So now you now ask yourself, people has been using Office 365, but you have never seen .onmicrosoft.com. Now, what we usually do is that once we create the tenant, right, we now need to add our own domain to that tenant. So what you are now doing in the real sense is that once you add your own domain to that tenant, right, your own domain will now be as an alias to the .onmicrosoft domain, right? So, and when we are talking about alias, I believe we know what I mean by alias. So alias simply means that you are creating another name. Maybe you can refer to it as, also known as, something like that. So what we are doing is that when you create this .onmicrosoft domain, you are now adding a domain name of your choice. So you now set the domain name of your choice as the primary. You will see what I mean later as we go on. So let me just call your attention to this. So every object in Office 365 has a .onmicrosoft domain at the back end. So let me create the password of my listing. I don't know what it's saying. Your password must blah 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 blah. Okay, that looks good. Okay, right. So that is fine. So I click continue. Oh, do I remember? Okay, admin at extrankey. So asking for my phone number 06360. Oh, this is not good for me. Okay, so it's sending me a code. So definitely they will send the code to you as well. I'll be able to answer. So I'm trying to get the code. Okay. So the code has been sent to me. So I'm trying to put in the code. 937. Okay. So I'm putting in the code. Okay, so let's just wait for a while. It's setting it up, so let's give it some seconds. So if you have any question, so you can please ask me why this is rolling. Okay. Okay, so it has finished setting it up, right? So this is my account. right? And this is what we have. So now, if we are not going to dwell here, right? Because this is just the developer page. So if you want to log on to your Office 365 tenant, maybe you can just click here to take it go to subscription. But if you really want to log on to your tenant, what you normally do is just go to office.com, right? So you go to office.com and you log on. So now I'm logging on. Please mute your mic, please mute your mic. So this is our test tenant that we create, developer tenant. So you can see I am the admin. So I want each and every one of us to do this for ourselves so that we can use this to test and play around. So I just created a test environment, which is the developer account. So and you can see this is developer account. It is our developer, and you can see when I go to licensing, I have 3 licenses, right? I have I have 25 users, right? So let me close this incognito window and start again. Okay. Okay, so I close this. So let me assume I want to log on to my Office 365 tenants, right? So all I need to do is just to go to office.com, and then from office.com I will do sign in, right? You must remember your name that you used the other time. So the name I use is this, admin@extraNKE.onmicrosoft.com. Always remember this, .onmicrosoft.com, and it says next. I put my password. So here am I in my brand new Office 365 developer tenant. So I will want each and every one of us to create this during the week. Now, this is going to be a practical class, so I would beg you to create this. It's for your own good, so I can be practicalizing everything. Okay, so now this is where we are. So last week I'm trying to do something last week, right? So last week I'm trying to mention each and every one, each function of all those tabs and everything we have in the tenant. So I think I stopped somewhere around active users, right? Okay, so I would continue from there later on, right? So but let me just do a quick say something. So if we click on the active user is just showing you all the users that you have, and when you come here you can see that my email address is this .onmicrosoft.com. so now what we are going to do is we are going to create our own domain, right? And then add our own domain to this Office 365 tenant, such that we don't want to be saying .onmicrosoft.com. So now what we are going to do, we are going to create a domain. But if you already had a domain name before now, you can also use your domain name, right? So something is very important which we have to mention, and that is DNS, right? So but before I come to DNS, so let me quickly create a domain name that we are going to use in this place, which is going to be also a free domain name. So you can go to, if you know any place you can create your free domain name, you can just use it. But the most important thing is you should use you can use anyone that gives you opportunity to be able to publish DNS record. So I normally use Freenom. So if you go to Freenom, you can create a free domain name. So the login, I have an account already on Freenom. So I don't know whether I should create a new domain name or I should just use the ones I have before. So I don't know. So but the process of Freenom is very straightforward. So like you now, you will not have an account, so we need to create an account. Okay, so I already have an account, so I sign in into my account, right? So I don't know if I should create a new domain name. I have a couple of them here already. So if you go to my domains, so it's free for a year domain. So all you just need to just come here and go to I think register a new domain, right? So and you put the domain you want to register. So usually you cannot get a .com domain here, so they will give you, okay, let me see, let me use M365 class. This might not be available, so can click check availability. So you cannot get the .com here, so I think the domain you can get here for free is the .ml, .tk, .ga. So that's the one that I can get. You can see, so m.tk, .ml, .ga, .cf, .q, whatever. So let's assume we want to use this, right? So just say get it now. They will not ask for credit card, you don't ask for anything, just check out. So I continue. So just click on continue and follow the instruction. I don't want to buy again. I will not be wasting the resources. So, but okay, let me just buy it. So, oh my god, just hold on. I need to do something. Let me click back. I made a mistake somewhere. I need to specify 3 months. So this 3 months. Ensure is 12 months. So up to 12 months is still free. But if you pick 1 year, you have to pay. But 1 month, 12 months, it's still free. So you don't need to be afraid. Once it's getting to time it will expire, you can come again and extend it for free again. So let's continue. So when I click continue, then I can now check out. So then when I check out, hopefully it gives me a success message. Let's just hold on. I'm just waiting. I hope you can still see my screen. So thank you for ordering blah 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 blah. Go to client area. 401 authorization blah blah blah. Wow, I don't know why I'm getting this error message. Okay, so maybe by the time you do it on your own location, you might not get this error message. I don't know why. I don't know why I'm getting that now. So, but that is that. But sometimes this thing can be troublesome as well. Maybe it's too loaded or something. So if for a paraventure you try to get a free domain here, you are unable to get it, right? I would encourage us, if you can buy a free domain, maybe buy the one of those SYZ. They are selling it for 600 or 700 on Google Hosts or any other domain. Just now, it's good for you to have a domain name, because if you don't have a domain name, you'll not be able to practice some things, right? So it's good for you to practice to have it. So let me see whether the thing purchased itself. I'm not sure. See, he purchased it, so you can see it is here. M365 class of ticket. It was purchased. So I don't know why it's showing me an error. So I have this already, right? So what we are going to do is manage domain, right? So when we go to manage domain, so what we are trying to do is we want to publish DNS record, right? So let me now quickly explain something about DNS. So what is DNS, right? If I say DNS, so it could mean DNS records, right? Now, what are they doing in the real sense? So the DNS record are just a way of we trying to verify a domain name, or also trying to publish some records so that the services can understand themselves and link together. So now in Office 365, we are trying to do. Now, what we are trying to do is we are trying to add a domain name to this tenant, such that we don't want to see the dot on Microsoft. So how are we going to achieve it? Let's go. So I'll go to setup. So from setup, I click on here, I see domains, right? So you play around this place a lot, so just watch it. So domains. So when I click domains, so under domains, you will see all the domain names that have been added in this tenant. Now that is why it's possible for in one tenant you can have different domain. So let me talk about what we know. Now, for example, I can come here and say m365 class.com. I can still also add m36510 dot whatever. So I can add as many domain name that I have here, and I can also be privileged to be able to create user with those different domain name. But in the long run, the real sense is that every object that you are creating are underneath having the dot on Microsoft as their base name. just bear that in mind. So every other domain you are creating, you are just creating them as an alias. So I want to add a domain now, for example. So I'll click add domain, then I will enter the domain that I want to add. So this is the domain that we are using. So this guy should be away from here, please. So add domains, right? So now I put in the domain here, right? So just say use domain. So this is quite straightforward. So I'm talking about DNS the other time. So the DNS is just a way to verify that you own that domain, or you are going to publish a record to actually link the two services together. So we have different type of DNS record, different types, but some are very, very important in Office 365, right? So let me quickly go to DNS record. So I will encourage us to so are you trying to ask a question? I'm hearing some noise. Hello? Okay. So if I go to DNS records, right? So I have different type of DNS records. So I will recommend that we all try to Google DNS records and check their functions, right? So, but some are very important in Office 365. So those that are very important in Office 365 is number one, we have let me put like the one that are very, very important, MX record, very, very important. We have TXT. TXT is also important, but it's not like the MX record, right? So we have CNAME. So I may not be able to tell you everything here. So what I want us to do is just to Google DNS record, right, and read about DNS records on your own, right? So you can see A record, CNAME, MS record, TST record, NS, SOA, SRV, PTR. So you just read about them. So all these ones are not too common. So the ones that at least you should know something about them is these ones. So you can just check other places too. So A record, see the A record points to IP address, right? So CNAME, forward one domain or subdomain to another domain, right? So just like people call this maybe canonical name or something like that. So but what the CNAME is doing is that it's pointing one domain to another domain, right? So you may not really understand the full function of all these things, but just know that this DNS record, they exist, and just have an idea of what they do. So the MX record is a mail, the one that is routing mail. So this determines where your mail is being routed to, right? It determines your mail server, right? So that is MX record. So that is MX. Then TST record, they can serve a whole lot of purpose, right? So they don't have this TST records is kind of generic record. So different application can use it for different things. But at least the one that it hardly changes anytime, any day is MX record. It doesn't change for anything. It's always routing, pointing to the routing where mail is being routed to. That's MX record. So TST record, you can use it for so many things. Then NS, name server, right? So this one determines where your name server is. So SOA, store of authority, they call it whatever. So we hardly use this anyway. We hardly use this. We don't really use this much. And then SRV is more or less like TST record. They use it for a lot of things, right? Depending on who is using it and where you are using it. So I will just encourage us to read through MX record. DNS records in general. So you still get more information than I can provide right now. So back to Office 365. So when I add the domain, it's saying that before I can do this, I need to publish this TST record. So now it's in two ways. It's either I publish a TST record or I publish MX record, right? So those are the two. So let me go back to my domain registrar portal, right? So in this case, Now I just mentioned something now. I said domain registrar portal. So the domain registrar is the person that register my domain. So in this case, my domain registrar portal is Freenom. So that is where I have this. So now, but for me to be able to add this domain to or to my Office 365 tenant, I need to verify that I am the owner of that domain. So that is the reason why we need to publish either a TST record or an MX record, right? So I choose I want to choose TXT record. So I say continue. So it will generate the record for me. So once the record is generated, I will now add this record on my domain registrar. So once I do that, I'll be able to authenticate that I am the owner of that domain, because I cannot wake up and come here and add google.com. So if I add google.com here, and you should be able to authorize that I own google.com. So that is why the reason why we are putting this MS record to show that we own this domain. So you can see most things that are common in most DNS record. You can see the name and the value and the TTL, right? So in most cases, this TTL, they don't normally, it can be any value. For most records, it can be any value. They are no longer much useful like they used to be. Now I think TTL means time to live, right? So time to live in the sense that how long will this record stay before it's being refreshed. So that is what I think it means. So but these days it's not really useful, like, because maybe in those days where network is very slow, so maybe it might make sense, but these days no much sense like that. So TTL might not mean much, but value and TXT, the name, they are very important. So in most cases, the name might be blank, right? But the value must always have something. So in this case, now I can see this one say TST name should be art or skip if not supported. So in some provider, we force you should add something, but some will allow you to leave it blank. But in most cases, they will allow you to leave it blank. So I can click on this. If I want to copy, I click on this. So let me go back to my Freenom domain registrar portal. So let me go back to the page so that I can start again. So I believe this guy might have signed me out right now. Okay, I'm still there. So I go to my domains. So if you go to, I will also encourage us, if we can, let's purchase a domain name of our own, right? You can have one in Freenom and also purchase one. The reason I'm saying that is this: we have different domain registrar. We have GoDaddy. We have at least GoDaddy is the most common, HostGator, blah blah. So now every one of them have their own unique way of how you add DNS record. But the bottom line is that DNS record is DNS record. It's just that the way the website is being set up might be different, right? If I go to my GoDaddy now, GoDaddy, or if I go to Google Host, where the DNS record is located might be different. So that's why I'm advising you get one so that I can feel what their own environment looks like. So by the time we check one or two, we understand. So this is Freenom. So I go to manage Freenom DNS, right? So under here you can see here. So now this Freenom also does not give you all the records. You can see you have a record, AAE, LOC, MS, blah blah blah. So if you check very well now, SRF record is not here. So if you are using an application that requests you to put SRV record, you might not be able to use Freenom, right? So, but it's free anyway. So, so what we are doing is TXT record. So I pick my TXT record. So the name, I'm going to leave it blank, or I can call it art. But if I call it art, for example, Freenom is not happy with that. But let's check it. So I paste. So this is this is the name. So I have copy this one here. So I paste it here. So if I click on save changes, right? Are you trying to ask a question? So if I click on save change, you can see this guy does not like me putting something here. So in some other domain registrar, they are okay with it, but Freenom does not like it. So that's why I say you can leave it blank, or so I paste this again and I click save changes. So when I click save changes, you can see this record has been added here, right? So now once this record has been added, I can now go back to my Office 365 tenant. But in most cases, this might not happen immediately. And that's what we call DNS propagation. What do you mean by DNS propagation? We have servers on the internet, right? Once you publish DNS record, those servers on the internet, they usually crawl all those records, and once they have finished crawling them, that's what we refer to as propagation, right? So you can just say DNS propagation common term, so you can delay, so you can mean many things. So we can use something like this to check the propagation of the DNS. So there are so many free tools on the internet that I can use to check whether the DNS has propagated very well. So you can see what it means, DNS propagation, updates. So you can take your time to read all these things I'm opening for you. So in most cases, when you publish DNS record, it can take up to 48 hours. But in that is in a very rare case, very rare case. But in most cases, once you publish it within 10-15 minutes, it should have propagated everywhere. You can see. So for example, let me test M365 class dot WhatsApp. Let me see what did I use. Dot TK. M365 class .ck. So I can now check the record that I put TSC record search. So can show me, you can see everything is red. So it does not really propagate anywhere. So you can see m365.tk. You can see it does not really propagate anything at all. So it can take some time. Sometimes it might not take, so but you cannot control this, but it's not really usually a problem. So let me now go back to Office and click verify. So when I click verify, so Office 365 will try to contact my domain registrar and ask them, okay, did you can you check if this record is over there? So that's what I'm trying to do now. So I'm clicking verify. So this is really taking much time, so I don't want us to spend much time waiting for this. So we might come back here and see it verified. So you can see saying that we didn't detect that you added this record in this. So this can take time, so we don't know how long it will take. So I might come back, my verify. In most cases, all things being equal, 5, 10, 15 minutes usually gets verified. So it's only a particular type of record that usually take long. That is a CNAME record that usually take long. So this I'm just making this. So maybe we'll come back to this and see if you verify. So now, so what I'm trying to do in the real sense is that I'm trying to add a domain name such that I would be able to have all my user to be on this domain. So for example, if I successfully add a domain name and I verify it, I can now change the name of this guy from .onmicrosoft.com to the real name. For example, I can come here, manage user. So if I come here, or if I click here, I will see all the domains here. So I will click on and pick the right domain and choose. So, but I will not be choosing for every user. Once I add a domain, right, I can set the domain as the default domain. See what I mean by default domain? Like, let me come back to domains, right? So under domains, you can see this is the default domain. So the default domain means that any user or any object that I'm creating in Office 365, they would go to this domain. And you can see this domain is not yet incomplete setup because I've not verified it. So let me just see, maybe it might get verified. So still delaying. So why we check this, or maybe we'll come back some other time, or maybe while you are doing your own practical section might be a lot faster. I don't know. So, but let me go back and continue a few things before our time elapses. So we have very limited time now. So at least I'm happy I'm able to cover the creating your own tenant and then adding your own domain. So, but there's few things we still need to check, or maybe much later. So now, after we have verified these domains, right? After we have verified these domains, there are still some records that we need to add. So we have the MX record, and then we have all sorts of records. So let me just don't mention it so that we see it direct. So maybe in our next class, we would have this would have propagated, or maybe it can get propagated as soon as possible. So once the first record we are doing here is verifying that you own the domain. So once you verify that you own the domain, the next thing you need to do is to host the records of the services that you will need. You publish the record of the services that you will need. For example, somebody might have this Office 365 tenant and decided that I will not put my email on Office 365. My email should remain with G Suite. In that case, it means you will not publish MX record in Office 365. What I mean is that you will not publish MX record of Office 365 onto your domain registrar. So it is the MX record that is active on your domain registrar that will determine where your email is being routed to. Let me show you something, for example. So let's use free to online. So most time when we want to check the MX record of or DNS record of different domain, there are different tools on the internet. So you can use MX Toolbox, right? Or me, I like this one, Google Dig, this one, right? So you can use it to check MX records of any domain. So for example, let me choose the domain I'm using now, like exabyte academy dot, right? So you can see if I go to any will show me all. You can see this is the A record, this is the NS record, this is the SOA, this is the MX record. You can see this is MX record. So anytime you see MS record that looks like this, you should know this. Anytime you see MS record that looks like this is how Office 365 MS record looks like. So just know this in your mind. It looks like the domain name mail.protection.outlook.com. So you see, this is TXT record. You have different trace TXT record. This is a particular TXT record. This is a particular TXT record. This is a particular TXT record, right? So google.com, right? Google.com. If you show me, see the MX record of Google, you can see it. So if you know any domain name, let's say DNS record yourself, so that you can become very vast in that. So I don't know, let me try this, whether this would have been ready by now. Let's see. Okay, fine. Can you see it now? Now we have finished the first stage. It has noticed that it has verified that record that okay, we own this tenant. So the next thing now is we now have to tell the records that okay, these are the services that we want, right? So we have different options. Add your own DNS, set up my online DNS for me, skip. Now if you click on skip, it means that you don't want to set up any services at all. You just want to verify your domain. Then if you click on add your own record, so you can add your own record manually, one by one. We have a lot of DNS record. So what I will advise you, you can test the 3 one by one, put the record, delete it, and yeah. So this one, if you click this one is good when you have GoDaddy service. So what it will do is that it will dictate where your domain registrar is active, and then if you now try to publish the record by itself automatically. But I'm not sure if that will work for free now, but let's check it out. but it usually works very well with GoDaddy. So can you still hear me? Hello? Hello?
Yes, it cut off before, but yeah, we can hear you now again.
Yes, a call came in. Sorry for that. So so you can see that when I click my choose the service, so you can see all the services. So you can see Exchange Online. I hope you all know what we mean by Exchange Online. Exchange Online is a mail server, just like you have Exchange on premise. Exchange, whenever you hear Exchange, we are talking about the email server, right? So Exchange Online. And so if you want to include Exchange services, you have to make sure this is checked. If you don't want to put it, you want to check it. If you want to include Skype for Business, you have to ensure it is checked, right? So we might need to talk more on that later. And just a side one, Skype for Business is facing out. I think the end of life is July. So anybody that is using Skype for Business online, they will automatically be migrated to Teams, right? So, but if you're using Skype for Business on premise, no problem. Or if you're using Skype for Business online, it's coming to end of life by July, I guess. So that. So then you can see another service in Tune and Uber Mobility, whatever. So if you want this service, you need to check it as well. So, and you can see as much as you check each service, you can see they have their own record. You can see CNAME that you put. You can see for Skype for Business, you have CNAME, you have SRV records. Then for Exchange, which is this, you can see we have MX, we have TXT, and we have CNAME. Please mute your mic when you are not talking, please, so that we can avoid some noise. Okay, so that is that. So remember, I click on set it up for me. So when I click next, so I'm expecting it probably might try to contact Freenom to publish the record automatically by itself. But let's see what happens here. Let's see what happens here. It's 8:30 already, so I should be rounding up by now. So you can see, let's see, continue. Let me say continue. Let's just see how this one ends. So you can see update your name server. So now what happened here is that it did not publish it for me, right? So it just told me that I should go and publish this record 1, 2, 3, 4 on my domain registrar. So if I publish these 4 records on my domain registrar, then if I click on continue, it will populate that all those services have been checked correctly, right? But if it were to be like GoDaddy is my domain registrar, what would have happened is that a pop-up screen will just come up here and to ask me to log on with my GoDaddy username and password, and to just publish everything by itself, and I'll just click done, right? But in this case now, the reverse is the case here. So, but what I will do is, if I publish these 4 records, I can see these are NS, right? These are NS records. So if I publish these NS records on Freenom, right, then which means it will automatically verify all the records for me. So there's something peculiar about NS. NS is name server. So you need to take note of this. This is very, very important. So anywhere your NS record is published, right, that is where you will be updating your DNS record. For example, if I publish all these NS on Freenom, if I want to update my DNS record, I will have to come to Office 365 to come and update it. We don't have time now. I will show you that one later. But let me show you one more thing before I stop the class for today. So I want to go back to the second one that say add it yourself, so that you can see what it looks like. So the first one we choose is do it for me. So if I say add it myself, so I will say continue, right? So if I say continue, it looks like it's showing the same thing, but it's quite different. You can see this, the same services. So MX record, CNAME, TXT, Skype for Business. You can see SRV record. You can see this looks more scary, kind of, but nothing is there. So these are just records that are just in tune for in tune management, device management. So, but in most plans, if you don't require any, as I said earlier, maybe you feel okay, I don't need in tune, you can uncheck that record is not relevant. So, or you feel like I don't need Skype for business, check it. So the only thing you need is MX record, or you feel okay, I don't use it for email, I just want to, for example, I did not put anything. If I just say continue, just see it now, continue, you can see it done. So complete, you can see it complete but no service. So in that regards, if I now come to users, okay, let me go back to domains. So let me quickly show you this before I stop. If I go to domains, right, you can now see it is now the default domains, right? So if I go to active users, I can change this domain to that name, but if I change it now, it will sign me out automatically and ask me to sign again, so I will not do that. So you can see I can come here and come and do edit this one. If I say this and done, so my name will now be showing like this. So, but for example, let me create a new user. If I create a new user, let me create a new user, let me call it name, so you can say Jebu. So automatic create the password. So let me leave it to automatically create the password for me. Require user to sign in to change the log on the first sign. So you can see most of the password I sent to you, that's how I generated it. To generate it and require that user sign in on first logon. So I say next. So when I click next, I will select the license I'm giving the user. So what I'm doing here, I'm just creating a user. So I say next. So if I want to give the user any admin role, I give it here. So as I explained last week, that global admin is the highest level of administrator rights in Office 365, but I'm not giving the user any admin role. So I'll just say next and finish, right? So if I say finish now, if I come here, done, right? So I should see the user. You can see Jumbo, which is this. So this is Jumbo now. So if Jumbo wants to log in now, I did not even take note of the address, the password. So let me reset the password and log on to Jumbo's account. So I'm just trying to reset the password. So I don't want it to. Okay, let me type the password by myself so that it will ease my stress. So I create this password now. So that is Jumbo. So let me collect Jumbo's email address. I'd like to log on to Jumbo's account. So let me see which window do I have here now to do that. Let me see. Oh, I already have an incognito window on that browser. Let me see. Okay, let me just browse as a guest. So say .com. Okay, so I want to sign in, and so Jumbo. So I will say my password. So we have a brand new account for Jumbo, which is a new user, and we have created this account. So what have we achieved today? We have been able to create an Office 365 developer tenant, right? And we are also able to register a domain name, which is free, and we are also able to publish or verify the domain as our own, right? So the only thing we did not do, we did not publish other DNS records, right? So other DNS record like the which browser am I using right now? Okay, I don't know. So we did not publish other DNS records like the TXT and all that, but you can try to play around that in your own time and work with that. So you can see no service is connected. So you can always come back and modify this anytime. Go to DNS record, right? Or maybe manage DNS. So maybe now I want to put the record, right? So I can always go by option, this one. So if I choose this one, so let's say, for example, maybe when we are working, like when I'm working with people, I work with customer, I need to have this published. Sometimes if you find it difficult publishing it on the domain registrar by yourself, so you can just download the records, right, and tell the user to take this and give it to his domain registrar. So the domain registrar, they know what to do. So this is just all the records. You can see it, MX records, CNAME, you can see that. So this is it, this is TXT, and this is the SRP. So I would like to stop here for today. So I don't know if anybody have any quick question that we can quickly answer before we call it today. Any question? Will anybody have any question?
Oh, okay. Thank you so much. We'll go and try.
Okay. So just make sure you go through it, and maybe at any point in time where you have any issue, you can just drop a message for me on the Teams. I will try as much to answer your question. So the best way we can learn this thing is to try. Oh, sorry, IJ, you drop a question. I did not check this all this while. I'm so sorry. So let me quickly see that. Can we create a test account and make it as production account later? Okay, when you say create a test account and make it as production, okay, let me quickly answer it this way. Test account or test tenant. So maybe if you can clarify for me. So it depends on what you want to do. Microsoft did not know whether you are creating test tenants or test user. You say what you want it to be, right? So you can call it test tenant, you can call it whatever. But the most important thing is that you can create, like the developer account that we create. Usually they don't expect you to use it for a production environment. So they expect you to use it for testing and producing stuff, right? Because at a point in time, what they do is they usually renew it automatically if you are testing, you are using it for production purposes and you are using it very well. They usually extend the subscription. But when they notice that you are not testing, you are not doing anything, the subscription will expire. But I think the subscription for the developer account is 1 year free, and they usually extend it. But if you are using a real tenant, definitely you have to own a subscription, you have to buy the subscription, and Microsoft don't care, provided you are renewing your subscription, they are happy with you. So you can test with it, you can do whatever you want with it. So I don't know if I answered that question.
Yeah, got it.
Okay. So the other one is if we add multiple domains, can we deny access to other domain for the admin? If we add multiple domains, can we deny access to other domains for the admins? I don't get that correctly, but let me try to answer you this way. Maybe if I did not answer the question, you can let me know. So if you add multiple domains, right, there is no way to deny access for other admin, because every admin, provided we have different levels of admin, right? So provided the person is, let's say, maybe a global admin or domain administrator, right, the person will be able to go to that aspect. But for example, if let's say I come here now, let me quickly do this. So if I come here, for example, right, and I pick this Allen, right, so this is my own test environment anyway, so never mind. So I come here, I say row, right? So you have different row. So if you don't want everybody to be able to go to that domain session, so if you give somebody exchange admin, definitely the person will not be able to see domain. So if you give somebody SharePoint admin, person will not be able to see that. If you give person Teams admin, you'll not be able to see all those that. But maybe I don't know if I answered the question, but what I'm saying in the sense that once you're a global admin, you can always see that domain section, and that there is no way to restrict maybe any other admin to go there, provided the privilege you give to them give them opportunity to be able to see that aspect. So I don't know if I answered that question.
Yeah, got it. It's very clear.
Okay, then the other one is, like, if there are multiple domains, can we create admin to specific domain who can be able to manage them? I think
Yeah,
I've
it is the
answered
same
this.
one. Yeah,
Yeah.
it's the
So
same
you
one.
cannot,
Yeah, I
you
got it.
cannot, yeah, you cannot create admin for a specific domain. So every admin will see all the domains, and they can always manage it. So the only thing is, if you don't want a particular, maybe you feel you are not confident in that person to do that, then you can rather not give them the privilege at all. But the only thing, as long as the domain is available, if they can come here, can always manipulate the user's domain. They can click here and they will see it, all the domain listed here. They can change it and do anything. So there is no way to actually separate that. Okay, this Johnson is for admin A, Johnson Cage is for admin B, or this is for admin C. So all the admin will manage the domain. So I understand where you are coming from. Maybe you can now put different organization on one tenant, right? So in that case, that would not work. So it will be very better that if one organization manage their own tenant, another organization manage their own tenant. But in a way, maybe some company that they have subsidiaries, like maybe I have one tenant, I cannot create tenant for every domain. Or for example, I have a domain, right? And maybe I have company A. The company A is uber.com, right? Company B is wheelbarrow.com. Then company C is okada.com, right? So I'm the owner of the whole company, so I cannot create tenant for each of them. So I can add okada.a, uber.kinicom, add everything under this tenant, then I can create every user based on that. So every user will have their own domain, company, or whatever. But in the long run, every object on that tenant will have this underline dot on microsoft.com, because that is the root domain. It is a unique identity that is being used to identify every object in Office 365. So it might not be visible, but it is there underneath. So that is just it. So I would like to stop here today. I don't know if anybody is having that question. So in the absence of none, we'll stop here for today.